everyone. Welcome back to American Government and Politics. So this time we're going to move on into the second part of the Constitution, which is Article 2. So let's get started. So let's begin reading. So here it says, the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. So basically what we are learning is that this article outlines the powers of the president. So we're mainly focusing on the executive branch. Alright, so let's move on here. So he shall hold his office during the term of 4 years. So we got a 4-year term. And together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. So the states will appoint in any way they like a number of special electors equal to their number of senators and representatives in Congress. Right here. And we know this as the very controversial Electoral College. Right here. So it's very special electors that we have. That's the Electoral College. Now, the four-year term is only limited to 2 times, meaning that the president can only serve for a total of 8 years. Okay, this limitation was given through the ratification of the 22nd Amendment in 1951. This was in response to FDR's terms in office, in which he was elected 4 times in a row. Okay, so they were like, we gotta put a stop to this, because when we have a president for almost 16 years, it doesn't have any competition. So they wanted to have variety and give more voice to the people. Alright, so let's move on here. So this is what I was talking about earlier in regards to 2 people, inhabitant of the same state with themselves. So no senator, representative, or other elected U.S. government official can serve as an elector. Now, electors will meet, so we're right here. So the electors will meet in their respective states by ballot for 2 people. At least one of them doesn't live in their state, and they will record their names of the people they voted for, count the number of votes each person received. The electors will then sign, list, seal it, and send it to the President of the Senate in the nation's capital. So here we are. The President of the Senate will then open the seals list and count the votes in front of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The person who receives the majority of the votes of all the appointed electors will become president. So, whoever receives the second most, pretty simple back in that day, will be president. The greatest number, you become president, and the second most, you become the vice president. If there is a tie, the House of Representatives will immediately vote by ballot to decide if the tie candidates will be president. If no candidate has a majority, the House will vote for president from among the 5 candidates who receive the most votes. So what they'll do is, it's quite funny, is that, when they have 5 people, they'll just kind of pick their favorite. Now that raises a question into fairness, whether that's fair or not, where it's no longer, the vote is not given to the voice of the people, but it's given to the electors or those that are already in government. So you can see that present here. Right there. Okay. So when voting for the president in the House of Representatives, each state gets one vote, and at least one member from 2/3 of the state must be present. So in this case, we have the concept, or absent the concept, of one person, one vote. The candidate who receives a majority of the state votes becomes president. After the president is elected, the candidate with the second greatest number of electoral votes will be vice president. If there is a tie between two or more of the remaining candidates, the Senate will vote to decide which of the tie candidates will become the vice president. This whole spiel here, section 1. And it continues on. Even here it says, but if there should remain two or more have the equal votes, the Senate will choose from them one ballot, the vice president. And all this here, let me go back. All of this here, starting from here down to here, was all changed through the ratification of the 12th Amendment. So, yeah. And I'll have the text for that for you. Now, let's move on. Now, Congress Congress decides when, right here, decides when states must choose the electors on the day when the electors give their votes to the president of the Senate. This day must be the same day for the elector in every state. So they're not going to change the timing of when they vote. It's just everybody votes the same day in that regard. Now, you're probably wondering, what are the qualifications to become president? So here are the qualifications right here. So you must be a citizen of the United States or by naturalization at the time of the adoption of this Constitution. You must be 35 years old. 35. And you must be living in the United States for 14 years. (14 years), 35 years old. Now let's proceed on. So if the president, so we're right here. Let me read this. If the president is removed from office, dies, quits, or unable to fulfill his duties, the vice president will serve as president of the United States. If the president and the vice president are removed from office, dies, or quits, or are unable to fulfill their duties, then Congress will select another government official to serve as president. So in this case, if you look at the line of power, when the president and the VP are out, the next line in power will be the Speaker of the House. This person will act as the President of the United States until the President of the United States or Vice President can perform his duties again, or until a new president is elected. So this whole thing here, if you're wondering, I'm trying to get another color. Bear with me here. This was all changed by the 25th Amendment. Okay? So now in history, since the 25th Amendment has been ratified, only two presidents have been impeached. They were Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, while Richard Nixon actually resigned. All right, let's proceed on. So the president shall, the president will be paid a salary at a predetermined times that won't change during his term in office. So his pay will always be the pay. He won't get a raise or anything like that. He can't receive any additional income from the United States government or the states during his time in office. So, for example, President Trump had to release all of his business matters to his children, so because he could not get extra income in this case. So sometimes people, they have primary jobs and then they get supplementary income. Well, there's no such thing as getting a supplementary income when you're the president. All right. Moving forward. So the president must take the following oath. So here's the oath of office. Very important. We see this right here. Right here. Here's the oath of office. And he has to say, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Why? Because he's the commander-in-chief. He is the legislature. He is the most powerful person in our country and arguably the most powerful person in the world. All right. Section 2. So it outlines what the president can do. Okay? So the president, as I stated earlier, is the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, as well as the state militias when they're working under the United States government. The president can ask for the written opinions of the executive branch, division heads about anything to do with their department. So he can get advisory council when he wants to learn about a certain situation, a certain bill. If he's trying, so for example, I'm pretty sure President Obama, he met with a lot of advisory councils, like the Chief Joint of Staff, his Navy people, the director of the CIA, when he was trying to capture Osama bin Laden. So he would have to go through all of those people to decipher if and get good counsel into what the steps will be in order to get Osama bin Laden. Now, the president can ask for the written opinion of the executive branch division heads about anything to do with their department, and the president can pardon people committed of crimes against the country, except impeached government officials. So, although he has, power to pardon people, it's limited. There's always some form of limits to power. All right. Now, moving on. The president has the power to make treaties. Okay, right there. With other countries, as long as 2/3 of the Senate agree. So you got to get 2/3 vote or 2/3 majority. The president can appoint judges. So this is where this comes in. Judges, so of the Supreme Court and other officers of the United States with Senate approval. So that's why Supreme Court justices have to get confirmed. That's why we have the confirmation hearings here. Okay. Congress can decide which lesser appointments the president, courts, and heads of different departments should make. The president can appoint Supreme Court justices and pick his or her cabinet members, which must be confirmed by Congress. While the Senate is on vacation, the president can temporarily fill vacancies until the end of the Senate's next meeting. So, the president still has authority and power to fill those vacancies, right? Why? Because you got to keep government going. Government just can't halt. You got to keep government going in this aspect. All right. So Section 3 outlines the president's duties. So we in Section 2 we outline the president's, what the president can do, more like his powers. But now we're trying to figure out his duties. There's a difference between, what he can do, his power, and his duties. These are things that he has to do. Okay? So the president will occasionally speak to Congress. Okay? He would speak to Congress, the State of the Union, right there, and explaining the issues and laws that he thinks are important. He can bring the House, the Senate, or both together under special circumstances, so extraordinary occasions. So this has happened before. If the House and Senate can't agree on a time to adjourn, the president will decide when they will adjourn. So in this aspect here, a moment in history where special circumstances occurred, right here. For example, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, went before Congress on December 8th, 1941 to announce the attack of Pearl Harbor. This is the day after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So this was a moment in history where FDR goes before Congress and he's like, guys, FDR announcing attack on Pearl Harbor. The president will meet ambassadors. So let's move on here. So it can meet ambassadors and other public officials and leaders from other countries and carry out the laws Congress makes and appoint the officers of the United States government. So the president has a duty to fill all vacancies to keep government running. And lastly, Section 4, the president, vice president, and civil officers or officials in the United States government can be removed from their jobs if impeached for treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. And that concludes our lesson on Article 2. In order to get the history of the presidency, please take a look at the lesson linked, which goes over the historical background of the American presidency. And next time we will cover Article 3. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.